at a total cost of rupees 3,871 crores. रोड शो जारी है। हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं हमारे संवाददाता शैलेंद्र। शैलेंद्र, इस 3 किलोमीटर के रोड शो में प्रधानमंत्री कितना सफर तय कर चुके हैं और कितनी देर में जेएलएन स्टेडियम पहुंच रहे हैं, और इस पूरे रास्ते में किस तरह से लोगों ने स्वागत किया?
देखिए, अब ये रोड शो खत्म की ओर है। अब हम कह सकते हैं कि बस थोड़ी ही क्षण में प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जो इंडोर स्टेडियम है वहां पर प्रवेश करने वाले हैं। अब से थोड़ी देर पहले हमने देखा कि चेन्नई रेलवे जो सेंट्रल रेलवे स्टेशन है वहां पर से आगे बढ़ते हुए कॉर्पोरेशन बिल्डिंग और उसके बाद स्टेडियम की तरफ बढ़ते हुए प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी का जो काफिला है वो स्टेडियम के अंदर प्रवेश कर रहा है। तो निश्चित तौर पर 3 किलोमीटर से ज्यादा का ये रोड शो, जिसमें हमने देखा कि जगह जगह पर प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी का स्वागत किया गया। प्रधानमंत्री ने अभिवादन भी स्वीकार किया। वो 2 जगहों पर रुके भी, और एक तरह से देखें इस तरह से लोग प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी को देखने को उत्सुक थे, उनका अभिवादन करने को उत्सुक थे। निश्चित तौर पर ये तस्वीरें दिखा रही थी कि न केवल बीजेपी कार्यकर्ता बल्कि चेन्नई के आम लोग, चेन्नई की आम जनता, चेन्नई की छात्राएं, चेन्नई के युवा किस तरह से प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी का स्वागत करना चाह रहे थे। तो निश्चित तौर पर आप इस वक्त ये दृश्य देख रहे हैं। यहाँ पर छात्राएं तमिलनाडु की जो संस्कृति है उसको इस वक्त दिखा रही हैं, और किस तरह से जगह जगह पर हमने देखा तमिलनाडु की और चेन्नई की संस्कृति के दर्शन हुए। प्रधानमंत्री का अभिवादन करते हुए, प्रधानमंत्री का एक तरह से उनका स्वागत करते हुए अब प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी इंडोर स्टेडियम में पहुंच चुके हैं। थोड़ी देर में ही जो मुख्य कार्यक्रम है, जहां 31,530 करोड़ से अधिक की परियोजना की आधारशिला रखी जाएगी, जिसमें 11 परियोजनाएं हैं, जिनमें 5 परियोजनाएं देश को समर्पित की जाएंगी और 6 परियोजनाएं
इंडोर स्टेडियम से पहले जहां प्रधानमंत्री रुके हैं और जहां पर वो छात्राएं भरतनाट्यम करती दिखाई दे रही हैं, उसी के इर्द गिर्द क्या ये किसी तरह का मंदिर का परिसर है, या प्रधानमंत्री के स्वागत में इस तरह की तैयारियां हैं जहां भगवान शिव की मूर्ति भी दिखाई दे रही है?
देखिए, ये इस वक्त जो आप तस्वीरें देख रहे हैं ये वो जगह है जहां पर प्रधानमंत्री रुके थे, और यहीं पर दूरदर्शन भवन का कार्यालय भी है, और उसके ठीक बाहर इस तरह की यहाँ पर सजावट की गई थी। तमाम हमने देखा कि जो छात्राएं हैं वो प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के स्वागत में खड़ी थी। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने रुककर अभिवादन भी स्वीकार किया, और यहाँ पर हमने देखा जो चेन्नई की, जो तमिलनाडु की जो संस्कृति है उसके दर्शन हुए। तो निश्चित तौर पर इस जगह के बाद प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी का काफिला आगे बढ़ा था, तब हमने देखा कि चेन्नई रेलवे जो सेंट्रल रेलवे स्टेशन है वहाँ के ठीक बगल से गुजरता हुआ प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी का काफिला फिर कॉर्पोरेशन बिल्डिंग की तरफ आगे बढ़ा, और उसके बाद दाहिने जाकर स्टेडियम जहां पर ये मुख्य कार्यक्रम होना है वहां पर प्रवेश करता हुआ। तो निश्चित तौर पर प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के इस रोड शो के दौरान हमने देखा कि जो चेन्नई की और तमिलनाडु की जो संस्कृति है उसकी झलक दिखाई दी, और किस तरह से लोग प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी को प्यार करते हैं। हाल ही में एक रेटिंग आई जिसमें हमने देखा कि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी की जो लोकप्रियता है वो किस तरह से बनी हुई है, और उन खासतौर पर उन राज्यों में जहां पर बीजेपी या बीजेपी के सहयोगियों की सत्ता नहीं है वहां पर भी प्रधानमंत्री की जो लोकप्रियता है वो एक तरह से कहें जबरदस्त है। और यही वजह है कि न केवल देश के बल्कि दुनिया के सबसे लोकप्रिय नेताओं प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी हैं, और ऐसे में हम देखते हैं कि जब भी वो कहीं रोड शो करते हैं, जब भी वो किसी शहर में जाते हैं, इस तरह से जनता का हुजूम सड़कों पर उमड़ पड़ता है उनके स्वागत के लिए। और ऐसे में हम देख रहे हैं जहां हजारों की संख्या में बीजेपी कार्यकर्ता, चेन्नई की आम जनता, कलाकार प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के स्वागत में यहाँ पर मौजूद नजर आए। निश्चित तौर पर एक बहुत बड़ा मौका है ऋतु, जब मोदी सरकार के 8 साल पूरे हुए हैं, और ऐसे मौके पर हैदराबाद के बाद चेन्नई का दौरा प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी का हो रहा है। हम अगर देखें पिछले 8 वर्षों में चेन्नई और तमिलनाडु को केंद्रीय योजनाओं के तौर पर जो तोहफा मिला है 7.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा केंद्रीय योजनाओं में आवंटन हम देख रहे हैं तमिलनाडु को हुआ है, जिससे तमाम योजनाओं को एक गति मिली है। इसके साथ ही साथ जिन कल्याणकारी योजनाओं पर हम देख रहे हैं, जिसमें समाज के अंतिम पायदान पर खड़े व्यक्ति को फायदा हो रहा है, चाहे वो आवास योजनाएं हो या फिर कोरोना काल के दौरान हमने देखा कि टीकाकरण अभियान, जिस तरह से दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा टीकाकरण अभियान देश में आगे बढ़ाया गया और तमिलनाडु में भी जिस तरह से उसका फायदा आम लोगों को हुआ, तो उन कल्याणकारी योजनाओं में भी जिसमें चाहे कोरोना काल के दौरान अतिरिक्त राशन देने की बात हो या मुफ्त टीकाकरण की बात हो या फिर आयुष्मान भारत के तहत लोगों का मुफ्त इलाज 5 लाख तक करने की बात हो, इस तरह की तमाम कल्याणकारी योजनाओं से समाज के निचले तबकों, कमजोर तबके को फायदा हुआ है। और इसके साथ ही साथ हम आधारभूत संरचना वाली जो बड़ी योजनाएं हैं उनको भी तमिलनाडु में आगे बढ़ता हुआ देखते हैं। और जो मोदी सरकार की तमाम ऐसी योजनाएं हैं, तमाम जो फोकस रहा है आत्मनिर्भर भारत पर, PLI स्कीम्स रही हैं, जिसकी वजह से जो विनिर्माण सेक्टर का जो हब बनाने की बात भारत को हो रही है, जो भारत को आत्मनिर्भर बनाने की बात हो रही है, चाहे आप मोबाइल उत्पादन में देखें, मोबाइल कलपुर्जे उत्पादन में देखें, किस तरह से आज चेन्नई और नोएडा ये एक बड़ा हब बनकर उभरता हुआ दिखाई दे रहा है। निश्चित तौर पर प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी की अगुवाई में जो नीतियां है उसका फायदा चेन्नई, तमिलनाडु को मिल रहा है। इसके साथ ही साथ हम जानते हैं कि डिफेंस कॉरिडोर, अगर आप देखें 2 ऐसे राज्यों का चयन किया गया था जिसमें तमिलनाडु और उत्तर प्रदेश है, जिसमें डिफेंस कॉरिडोर पर काम आगे बढ़ रहा है और तमाम बड़ी रक्षा क्षेत्र में बड़ी कंपनियों का निवेश आया है। और हम देख रहे हैं कि इस सेक्टर में भी हम आत्मनिर्भर बनने की ओर तेजी से आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। तो डिफेंस कॉरिडोर ने नए रोजगार के अवसर भी पैदा किए हैं। तो आज हम देख रहे हैं कि तमाम उन नीतियों से ऋतु तमिलनाडु आगे बढ़ता रहा है, यहाँ की विकास की रफ्तार तेज हो रही है, जो हम तमिलनाडु में जिन योजनाओं को आगे बढ़ता हुआ देख रहे हैं।
बिल्कुल शैलेंद्र, प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी इस समय इंडोर स्टेडियम में पहुंच चुके हैं और इस इंडोर स्टेडियम से आज तमिलनाडु और
இந்திய திருநாட்டை வல்லரசாக உருவாக்கி கொண்டிருக்கும் மாண்புமிகு பாரத பிரதமர் அவர்களை விழா மேடைக்கு வரவேற்பதில் பெருமிதம் கொள்கின்றோம்.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed my pleasure and privilege to welcome the Honorable Prime Minister of India, who has arrived to grace the occasion.
चुके हैं।
I thank Prime Minister Albanese. Welcome to Tokyo. I would like to offer my sincere congratulations.
選挙直後に日本まで足を運んでいただいたこと、心からアルバニージー首相に感謝を申し上げたいと思います。昨年来、ジョーのリーダーシップにより、4カ国の首脳はたびたび会合の機会を持ってきました。本年、日本がバトンを受け継ぎ、こうして東京で首脳会合を実現できたことを大変嬉しく思っています。昨年9月の会合以降、我々が重視する法の支配に基づく国際秩序を根底から揺るがす事態が起きました。
Since we met last September, Russian invasion into Ukraine squarely challenges the principles which are enshrined in the United States. We should never ever allow a similar incident to happen in the Pacific.
4カ国の連帯と自由で開かれたインド太平洋という共通のビジョン、強固なコミットメント、
countries' solidarity and our firm commitment toward the shared vision.
本日は対面であることを生かして国際情勢や地域情勢について
I am looking forward for a candid exchange of
楽しみにしています。
situations.
地域諸国と共に歩むことなしに
Keeping in step with the countries in the region, we cannot secure success for the Quad either. We should therefore listen carefully to the voices of the countries in the ASEAN, South Asia, as well as the Pacific Island countries, so as to further advance cooperation conducive in solving urgent issues facing the region. During this meeting, I wish to clarify the concrete progress of broad-based practical cooperation that we have to discuss new areas of cooperation, such as assisting in regional climate change countermeasures, maritime domain awareness, as well as humanitarian aid and disaster relief. Now, first of all, may I
Prime Minister Kishida, President Biden and Prime Minister Modi, firstly, can I thank you for your sincere congratulations on my election as Australia's 31st Prime Minister. It is an honour that this is my first act as Prime Minister to attend this important Quad Leaders meeting here in Japan. And as we gather today, I acknowledge all that the Quad has achieved. Standing together for a free, open and resilient Indo-Pacific region, and working together to tackle the biggest challenges of our time, including climate change and the security of our region. My government is committed to working with your countries, and we are committed to the Quad. The new Australian government's priorities align with the Quad agenda, taking action on climate change and building a stronger and more resilient Indo-Pacific region through better economic security, better cyber security, better energy security and better environmental and health security. Our cooperation is built on the values that we share: a commitment to representative democracy, the rule of law and the right to live in peace. Today we look ahead to the work we're yet to do. As the Indo-Pacific is reshaped, our Quad partnership is needed now more than ever to meet the challenges and threats of a less certain world, to shape that world for the better, and build a stronger, more cooperative Indo-Pacific region that respects sovereignty. The region is looking to us to work with them and to lead by example. That's why my government will take ambitious action on climate change and increase our support to partners in the region as they work to address it, including with new finance. We will act in recognition that climate change is the main economic and security challenge for the island countries of the Pacific. Under my government, Australia will set a new target to reduce emissions by 43% by 2030, putting us on track for net zero by 2050. We have had a change of government in Australia, but Australia's commitment to the Quad has not changed and will not change. And our commitment to ASEAN and its centrality has not changed. My government has already committed to a greater focus on Southeast Asia, including the appointment of a special envoy for the region and $470 million in additional foreign aid over the next 4 years. This is in addition to our increasing assistance to the Pacific by over $500 million, deepening our defence and maritime cooperation and using the power of proximity to strengthen our partnerships. We will bring more energy and more resources to securing our region as we enter a new and more complex phase in the Pacific's strategic environment. And we will continue to stand with you, our like-minded friends. And collectively, we will continue to stand up for each other. We will stand firm on our values and our beliefs, on what we know will enhance the stability and prosperity of our region, and what is firmly in the interests of all those who call the Indo-Pacific home. I'm honoured to be among such close friends of Australia, to take these next steps with you to pursue positive and practical ways to support a free, open and resilient Indo-Pacific. I look forward to strengthening our Quad partnership, starting with a productive meeting today. and I'm delighted to hand over to Prime Minister Modi.
はい、アルバニージー首相ありがとうございました。次はモディ首相よろしくお願いします。
Your Excellencies, प्रधानमंत्री किशिदा, प्रधानमंत्री एंथनी अल्बनीजी और राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन, प्रधानमंत्री किशिदा, आपके शानदार आतिथ्य के लिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आज टोक्यो में मित्रों के बीच होना मेरे लिए बहुत खुशी की बात है। मैं सबसे पहले प्रधानमंत्री एंथनी अल्बनीजी चुनावों में विजय के लिए आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई, बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। शपथ लेने के 24 घंटे के बाद ही आपका हमारे बीच होना क्वाड मित्रता की ताकत और इसके प्रति आपकी प्रतिबद्धता को दिखाता है। एक्सेलेंसीज, इतने कम समय में क्वाड समूह ने विश्व पटल पर एक महत्वपूर्ण स्थान बना लिया है। आज क्वाड का स्कोप व्यापक हो गया है और स्वरूप प्रभावी हो गया है। हमारा आपसी विश्वास, हमारा डिटर्मिनेशन लोकतांत्रिक शक्तियों को नई ऊर्जा और उत्साह दे रहा है। क्वाड के स्तर पर हमारे आपसी सहयोग से एक फ्री, ओपन और इंक्लूसिव इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र को प्रोत्साहन मिल रहा है, जो हम सभी का साझा उद्देश्य है। कोविड-19 की विपरीत परिस्थितियों के बावजूद हमने वैक्सीन डिलीवरी, क्लाइमेट एक्शन, सप्लाई चेन रेजिलियंस, डिजास्टर रिस्पांस और आर्थिक सहयोग जैसे कई क्षेत्रों में आपसी समन्वय बढ़ाया है। इससे इंडो पैसिफिक में शांति, समृद्धि और स्थिरता सुनिश्चित हो रही है। क्वाड इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र के लिए एक कंस्ट्रक्टिव एजेंडा लेकर चल रहा है। इससे क्वाड की छवि एक फोर्स फॉर गुड के रूप में और भी सुदृढ़ होती जाएगी। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
はい、モディ首相ありがとうございました。それでは続いて、バイデン大統領、ジョーよろしくお願いします。
It's wonderful to be together with friends and at this transformative moment in the world, and we are at a transformative moment. Prime Minister Kishida, I want to commend you for the extraordinary leadership that over the past few months that you've shown and for the gracious way in which you've hosted all of us. And Prime Minister Modi, it's wonderful to see you again in person. Thank you for your continuing commitment to making sure democracies deliver, because that's what this is about, democracies versus autocracies, and we have to make sure we deliver. Prime Minister Albanese, I welcome you to your first Quad meeting. Like I said, you got on a plane, you were sworn in, got in a plane, and if you fall asleep while you're here, it's okay. Because I don't know how you're doing it, but it's really quite extraordinary. Just getting off the campaign trail as well. Congratulations on your election. As I told you when you won, I called you that we greatly appreciate your commitment to being here so soon after taking office. Quad leaders met for the first time just over 1 year ago. It seems longer, but today our partnership is central to achieving our goals and critical for the foundation of our continuing cooperation, in my view. We already accomplished a great deal, as was referenced earlier, cooperating on COVID-19 response and health security, more to do, to state the obvious, partnering on 5G and technology supply chains, technology standard setting, and launching our Quad Fellowship Program, which I think can make a difference, which we talked about earlier. At the same time, we're navigating a dark hour in our shared history. The Russian brutal and unprovoked war against Ukraine has triggered a humanitarian catastrophe, and innocent civilians have killed in the streets, and millions of refugees are internally displaced as well as exiled. And this is more than just a European issue. It's a global issue. The fact is that if you turn on the television and you'll see what Russia's doing now, it appears to me that Putin is just trying to extinguish a culture. He's not even aiming at military targets anymore. He's taking out every school, every church, every natural history museum, as if to try to obliterate the Ukrainian culture. And the world has to deal with it, and we are. The global food crisis is made worse by Russia's blocking Ukraine from exporting its millions of tons of grain. And also, as long as Russia continues the war, the United States will work with our partners to help lead a global response, because it's going to affect all parts of the world. At the same time, the United States must and will be a strong, steady, and enduring partner in the Indo-Pacific. We are in the Indo-Pacific. We are an Indo-Pacific power. I was once asked by, well, I won't go into it, but I was once asked by the leader of China why I kept talking about being an Indo-Pacific power. I said, because we are. We share the Pacific, one entire side of our country. And we have been deeply involved with all of you for a long time. As long as Russia continues this war, we're going to continue to be partners and lead a global response. And you know, we're Indo-Pacific power, as I said. We're going to stand with you, our close democratic partners. And we're going to stand for the shared values and the shared vision we all have. You know, shortly before Russia launched its invasion, my administration published our Indo-Pacific strategy to advance a free, open, connected, secure, and resilient Indo-Pacific. Russia's assault on Ukraine only heightens the importance of those goals. The fundamental principles of international order, territorial integrity and sovereignty, international law, human rights, must always be defended, regardless of where they're violated in the world. So the Quad has a lot of work ahead of us. The fact of the matter is that we have a lot of work to do, keeping this region peaceful and stable, tackling this pandemic and the next one, and addressing the climate crisis as referenced by our new colleague, ensuring that technologies of the future are governed according to our values, But in a short time, we've shown the Quad isn't just a passing fad. We mean business. We're here to get things done for the region, and I'm proud of what we're building together, and I look forward to our vital partnership flourishing and for many years to come. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you.
The Union Home Minister Shri Amit Shah ji and the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar ji. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to each one of you, ladies and gentlemen, to this August gathering. Today's event, the book release of Modi at 20, Dreams Meet Delivery, is a matter of immense pride and honor for us at Bluecraft Digital Foundation. The journey of Bluecraft began in 2016 with the motto that for the transformation of governance, it is essential that there should be a transformation of mindset. And if there is one person who has successfully brought in this transformation, and I'm sure everyone will agree with me in this August gathering, it is none other than our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, whose rise in politics in India in itself is a watershed movement. As Shri Modi ji completes 20 remarkable years as the head of the government, initially as the Chief Minister of Gujarat and presently as the Prime Minister of India, we at Bluecraft have attempted to showcase a perspective on Prime Minister's unique and revolutionary manner of governance through the compilation of this book. At this juncture, I would also like to thank the illustrious authors, some of whom are present amongst us, for taking time out of their busy schedules and penning down their insightful thoughts on the Prime Minister's leadership. Finally, I would also like to thank Rupa Publication for publishing this book. Thank you, and once again, a warm welcome.
धन्यवाद हितेश जी। अब पुस्तक की परिकल्पना के बारे में संक्षिप्त जानकारी के लिए आमंत्रित हैं ब्लू क्राफ्ट डिजिटल फाउंडेशन के सीईओ श्री अखिलेश मिश्रा जी।
The Honorable Vice President of India, distinguished authors of the various chapters in the book, including two very eminent people present on the stage, other dignitaries and members of the audience. Modi at 20. Now, why is this relevant? Many leaders have had a tenure of 20 years, maybe less or slightly more. But in a democratic country like India, with such vast diversity, language, regions, culture, to be in a democratically elected leader for 20 continuous years, winning election after election, is a unique thing. India's uniqueness is also highlighted by the fact that we are a very, very youthful nation. We have the culture and the historical and the civilizational tradition of debates, discussions. It is rarely an idea that finds relevance for a significant period of time, and yet for 20 years, the idea of Modi, or should I say, the ideas by Modi, have held the nation in thrall. So this is a very, very special occasion, especially that this is happening in a democratic country like India, which is not an authoritarian state, which is not a controlled democracy, but a free democracy with judiciary, free media, and therefore this 20 years is important. Now, there are some obvious, visible, tangible markers through which we can measure these 20 years. The first, obviously, is that the Prime Minister has won every election on which he has been on a ticket. He has never been defeated. Be it 3 times as Chief Minister of Gujarat winning elections, or twice winning the Prime Ministerial candidate. And what is more significant is this, that his popularity never wanes. He wins the next election with a greater majority. And in a country like India, where every 6 months there is some election from parliament to municipality, and incidentally, Prime Minister himself becomes a factor even in a municipal election, this popularity is tested election after election after election, and yet for 20 continuous years running, Mr. Modi has led the thought, the process, the vision for the country for the last 20 years, 2.5 years as Chief Minister, 7.5 years, this month it will become 8 years as Prime Minister. So these are some of the obvious, tangible things that you can measure this. There is one more which we have highlighted in this book. Prime Minister is the first Prime Minister Modi is the first Prime Minister to be elected in office through public acclaim. Now, what do I mean by this? That before Mr. Modi, every other Prime Minister was either nominated in the post for the first time, later they may have gone and won majorities, or if they were nominated before the election, they did not get complete majority. Mr. Modi is the only Prime Minister who was nominated before the Prime Minister election and won absolute majority on his own. This is a unique achievement. No other Prime Minister has this achievement. So these are some of the tangible through which we can measure these 20 years. But what are the intangibles? The way the culture has changed. So I will list out just 3-4 because of paucity of time. One, and we have seen this recently also, that as a country, as a people, we are no longer satisfied with mere participation certificate. If we participate, now we want a position on the podium. So that is a great mindset change that he has brought. Second, we are no longer satisfied with the second best. If something is happening in the world, we want India to have the same achievement at the same time. If the world has a COVID vaccine developed, then we want a vaccine at the same time as anybody else in the world gets, and we do it. Third mindset change that he has been able to brought, and which one of our authors has written in this book, is the mindset change of we are now undaunted by any challenge whatsoever. If there is a challenge, we say we will face it. Hoga kaise nahi? How will this not happen? And we then make it happen. A very recent example is the evacuation that we did out in the war between in Ukraine and Russia. Fourth is, and this is again something which Prime Minister's is his own unique ability, that normally one would think that a politician is not necessarily trusted when there is a crisis. Mr. Modi has turned this wisdom upside down. If there is a crisis, the person we trust first is Mr. Modi. कि अगर ये है तो हो जाएगा. Fifth, obviously, is the culture that he has brought, which is of Jan Bhagidari, public participation, participative governance. So there is a participation in making policy between the government, elected representatives, and the people of the country. Sixth is that now there is no dichotomy between our civilizational and cultural heritage and our modern impulses. Mr. Modi has shown that both can seamlessly fuse together and coexist, and we can emerge as a modern nation while being proud of our cultural and civilizational heritage. And finally, there is a significant amount of policy impact that I don't need to list out here. Now, given all this, the tangible achievements, the intangible achievements, it would be impossible for one person, one organization to summarize this in a book. Nobody, how much well-versed that person may be, would be able to summarize this one book format. And that is why we came up with the idea that we will request eminent people who are experts in their own domain to then discuss the Prime Minister's work in these last 20 years and put it in a book format so that it can be a reference material for future generations. So this book that is being released today, it has 5 sections, 21 chapters, and there are 22 eminent authors. One chapter has been co-written by 2 other people. So 21 chapters. These 5 sections are, the first section is the social impact. We call it people first. So what is the social impact of Prime Minister? This is in with respect to youth, with respect to women, how to eradicate and completely eliminate poverty. Second section is the political and the cultural impact. The way electioneering has been completely changed in India, how politics have become people first, and the cultural impact. The third section is the economic section, which talks about the economic reforms, last mile delivery, delivering at speed and scale. Fourth section is the governance model. This has 8 chapters. This is the longest section, and it takes us through the various facets of Prime Minister's governance, be it crisis management, be it Jan Bhagidari, be it use of technology in governance, and so on. And the final chapter is India's engagement with the world, which includes our foreign policy, our defense policy, and our relations and how we manage our diaspora. So these are the 5 sections, and now I don't want to take your time. The best people to talk about these sections is the authors themselves, so we will listen to the authors. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
धन्यवाद अखिलेश जी. अब बारी है इस पुस्तक के बारे में एक ऑडियो विजुअल प्रस्तुतिकरण की. इस प्रस्तुतिकरण के माध्यम से हम सुनते हैं उन महानुभावों के कुछ विचार जिन्होंने इस पुस्तक में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के व्यक्तित्व और उनके कार्यों से संबंधित अपने अनुभव को कलमबद्ध किया है.
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा.
Leader, statesman, visionary. In a journey spanning 20 years, Shri Narendra Modi has played many roles. As a 3-time Chief Minister of Gujarat, he led the state's transformation from relative underdevelopment to one of India's most prosperous and fastest growing states.
मॉडर्नाइजेशन का पक्षकार लेकिन मॉडर्नाइजेशन विदाउट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन.
As a 2-term Prime Minister, he continues to unshackle India with far-reaching socio-economic reforms that has empowered 1.3 billion Indians in more ways than ever before. As a statesman, he's amongst a select few world leaders to simultaneously win the respect of nations that oppose each other. Modi at 20, dreams meet delivery, brings together intellectuals, policymakers, industry leaders, and experts across varied fields to chronicle the shaping of new India that is both in tune with its civilizational moorings as well as modern in outlook and achievements. Modi India at 20 offers a holistic view of 2 decades of Narendra Modi. On 7th October 2021, Shri Modi completed 20 continuous years as head of democratically elected governments, 12 and a half years as Chief Minister of Gujarat, and 7.5 years and counting as the Prime Minister of India. The phenomenon becomes unique when seen in the light that before 2001, Shri Modi had never held any elected office. Since then, he's remained undefeated in 5 consecutive elections: 2002, 2007 and 2012 as Chief Ministerial Candidate in Gujarat, 2014 and 2019 as Prime Ministerial Candidate. And his popularity has only grown with time. Let us listen from the authors of the various chapters themselves as they take us through the unique insights that they offer in their respective chapters.
Narendra Modi's unstinting support to entrepreneurs, to the startup world, to people who build the nation through enterprise has been unstinting over his entire journey. And I've had the privilege of being associated with him through this entire period of 20 years.
Modi ji has repeatedly emphasized that our nation must transition from women's development to women-led development.
In my article, I have written that what a modular approach meant to him. How one project led to another project, then to the third project, and ultimately the final message was well-being of the masses. For him, it is nation which matters, and he always thought that he lives for the nation.
I've given a true incident. 20 years back, I met mother and a child. A mother was a cook. A child was going to school. And I met them and I talked to them. The mother told me that she wants her daughter should become a receptionist. And that is her aim in life. Now, the girl has become an entrepreneur. I asked her why it happened, how it happened, and what is the reason. She said, I have changed in 20 years. Government is extremely supportive in all their schemes, and she went on telling that how her parents have a bank account. A great leader can inspire people. He can bring a wind of change in many directions. And that is what has happened in our country.
Gujarat's agriculture achieved a tremendous rate of growth of 9.2% per annum. This is unheard of in the Indian history of agriculture in any state. I would say this is the first time in the history of thousands of years of India, India has exported 20 million tons of rice in 21-22 in a global market of about 50 million tons.
PM Modi says that India's attitude towards meeting its goals has changed from chalta hai to badal sakta hai, which has struck a chord with me. This is the same attitude that a young person brings to whatever he or she approaches. It is the same attitude that PM Modi has shown in governance too.
I've looked deeply at the environmental and ecological leadership provided by Mr. Modi, including on issues related to climate change. Mr. Modi has shown that development and sustainability can coexist. Our culture has been, in a sense, under attack for a long time. And my chapter explores what Prime Minister Modi has done consistently, and even earlier what he did in his role as a Chief Minister. Prime Minister Modi has focused not just on Kashi Vishwanath Ji temple, but one explores various other temple towns that have been revived. And it's not just the worship places of Hinduism, but the worship places of all other religions that exist in India. One thing unique about the Prime Minister is his ability to carry out schemes on scale. So we mentioned Aadhaar, then there was Jan Dhan, Swachh Bharat. Now we are seeing another very, very big initiative underway, which is the Nal Se Jal.
I asked a bystander why he supported Modi ji. A young boy confidently said, क्योंकि सपने दिखाना सिखाया है हमें मोदी जी ने, हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर जी ने. People trust Modi ji because he delivers. It is his success that has strengthened public trust in his leadership.
This book is not only a must-read for those interested in political science and governance, but it's also a masterclass in communications, in personal development, and in management studies.